Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cup of Joe with Joe and Joe podcast. I am your host, Joe, and with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Joe.
Ladies, we're slowing it down this week. You know, last week with the comics, things got pretty crazy. It was wild. A lot of stuff was going on. But this week, we're ending Batman Black and White, catching up with Red X and Miles Morales. So we're back to our normal routine.
It's gonna be a little bit slow. We'll have some more time to breathe with some of these stories, except for Batman Black and White, where we are contractually obligated to lightning round every one of those stories. Otherwise, we would go insane and lose our souls to the devil. So,
I already did that. But moving on.
Let us first begin then. Let's just hop right into it. I don't know why I clapped with that. That seemed a little bit unnecessary. But moving on. Let's begin with Spider-Man. So this week, I read Miles Morales Spider-Man number 26, and if you remember from 4 weeks ago, that's how comics work, Joe. I don't know if you know this. I'm a bit of a savant when it comes to understanding how comics work. Clone Saga for Miles Morales got started up, so that was something that I was like, interesting. Let's see how this goes, because certainly it won't be as big of a shit show as it was for Peter Parker in the 90s. Yeah, let's just begin with it. And the last one, we left off with Miles discovering that there were 3 different clones of him. You got the goopy one, you got the spider-looking one, and you got the human-looking one who has like weird like blades. I don't know. That one's name is Salim. I don't know what any of the other guys are called. I don't really remember. I think they have names, but it doesn't matter, at least right now. But so he's kind of he's just confronting them right now, and Salim is just like, hey Miles, don't fuck with us, okay? We're gonna do our thing, don't interfere. And he's like, wait, who are you? And like they just keep ignoring him, and so he walks up to Salim and he puts his hand on his shoulder. He's like, wait, guy, I need to know stuff, like what the hell is happening? And then Salim gets irrationally angry and he's like, don't touch me. And they just start beating the ever-living shit out of Miles, and I'm like, oh my god. And then Peter swings in, and he's all like, hey, you need some help, Miles? And so the two of them try and fight off the other guys. At one point, Peter calls Salim Kilometer Morales, and I was just like, it's funny quip. And then the three of them gas them, and so both Spider-Men are just out. And then they get away. And so, Miles is just like, I need to get after them. I need to do all the things. I need to take them down and stop them. And Peter's like, okay, Miles, take a breath. This city is massive. You're not going to find them. Go home, get some rest, do what you got to do. You're still Miles, all right? Live your life, do your thing. And he's like, okay, I got you. So he goes home to get to his place. Genki's still there. He talks with Genki a little bit about what happened. And so Genki's kind of like just searching the area for a ping on any tracking stuff. Miles does some work, chugs a soda, which apparently he never does. Genki's like, wait, you're drinking soda now? And Miles is like, I need the sugar. He's like, you never drink soda. I'm like, that's a weird thing, but okay. And then eventually Genki gets a ping. Miles goes out to a warehouse, and it's like a little lab. And he's all like, wait, are they trying to make more? And he's like, nah, fuck that. And so Miles completely trashes this lab. By the time he finishes, just in time for the 3 clones to come walking in, and they're like, what did you do? And Miles is like, you ain't making any more fucking clones. He's like, you destroyed our cure. And then Miles is like, wait, hold up, what? And then they suit up and they like fucking cocoon Miles in webs, and then the issue ends with them being like, all right, if we're going out, we're gonna drag this guy to hell with us. And that's where the issue ends. And I'm just like, interesting.
Yeah, the ending sounds pretty cool. The rest of it sounds a little bit like, but the ending, the fact that it's like, a cure, adds a nice little twist to the end of it. Seems interesting.
Yes. So, much like what you just said, like, most of it was kind of like, The most, like, fun part was the fact that, Peter is kind of teaming up with Miles right now, and so you just get that nice little dynamic. And then, like, there's some other stuff in there that you're just kind of like, yeah, this is kind of nice. Him with Genki specifically, and then the end where it's like he makes the decision to destroy all that shit without first asking or trying to figure out exactly what it was, because I don't know if you know that clones in Spider-Man have a tendency to just melt. That's kind of if you remember Danny, the female Danny from Danny Phantom, and how she would melt and she needed to like be cured or whatever. Very similar, where it's like clones just over time kind of melt and they're not really stable. So they were making themselves a cure of some kind so they could live, and Miles just kind of wrecked that. He made a little oopsie. So morally, not so much in the right now.
Yeah, no, sounds interesting. Don't really know where it's gonna go though.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. So hope it gets better because right now it's like sitting at like a C plus for me story wise.
I gotcha. Well, let's go on to Teen Titans Academy. Joe, what did you get the standard cover?
I did get the standard cover. I looked at I don't remember what the variant cover was now, but I looked at it and I was like, nah, I'm gonna go with the standard.
Yep. So we got standard. This is Teen Titans Academy #3, and we start off with a pretty cool page of my girl Raven, and she's having a premonition. It looks like, and it looks like it's a premonition of what we saw in Future State, I believe, which is, I believe, we talked about this before, but this is all kind of connected, and the timeline's a little weird of the releases and everything. But that's what it looks like. And yeah, the first page is pretty sick, and then we get into the fact that the Titans, the head Titans, are like, okay, we gotta find Red X. And some of them are telling him, like, hey, it's not a big deal, just leave it be, eventually he'll come out. And Nightwing's like, no, I want to find this fucker. Like, you do not
This
make a
guy's
fool
wearing
of
my
me.
goddamn mask.
Yeah, exactly. And then Raven's kind of talking like, hey, guys, I saw some pretty weird shit. And they're all like, Raven, we don't give a shit. And Beast Boy's like,
Raven, we don't care that you know Beast Boy's search history. It doesn't. We all know it's weird. Okay, stop bringing it up at every goddamn team meeting.
and Beast Boy's like, girl, they don't deserve you. Come with me. Let's go hang out. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, well, this is the classic dynamic. And then we cut to the Suicide Squad with Amanda Waller, right? Not Walker.
Yes.
Okay.
Amanda Waller.
And which is interesting. We got the big, surprise at the end of last issue that it's like, oh my God, the Suicide Squad are going to be in this. So pretty cool. This looks like it's the setup before last issue. Like I said, timeline all over the place.
Yeah.
And nobody seems to really like Red X, which I found kind of funny.
Yeah, no, they're more of like they're a wild card in all of this. They're kind of just like on both sides right now, and I'm not quite sure which side they're infiltrating more so, because it seems like they've infiltrated both sides and have their own agenda.
Yeah, exactly. And then we get a little thing about Crush, and she looks like she's trying to do something, like she's trying to talk to her dad, and which is Lobo, and it gets cut off, and she kind of is like, "Hey, don't bother me." She's like, I'm a punk," and you're like, "Okay, that's a little weird." And then we get Alinta's backstory of how she got her legs chopped off because her parents owed people money or something like that, or they smuggled drugs, and Amanda Waller was the one who gave her legs, and basically she's like telling all this to her friend, her roommate. She's like, yeah, I don't really know what to do. And the friend's like, hey, you should probably like tell the Titans. And she's like, maybe not, but I'm gonna go get my blades. So then this is
Let me not tell the tried and true superheroes that are living in this establishment with me and have time and time again fought back against villains just like this. That would be a stupid idea.
Yeah, I was like, okay, whatever. I think Alinta's backstory was pretty cool, though. And then we have the Suicide Squad attacking. They come down on their parachutes, and Red X like, okay, follow me. I'm in charge. And Peacemaker, not Peacekeeper, right? Or is it Peacekeeper?
I think it's Peacekeeper.
Okay, Peacekeeper's like, who the fuck is this asshole taking charge? I'm Big Daddy over here. And they are like infiltrating the actual tower because Red X is like, oh yeah, I like infiltrated earlier. I figured this all out. So it's kind of hinting that he was like maybe one of the kids that were a part of that was accepted into the class, and then he kind of used that to then figure out access points. I don't know. That's what my brain's doing. But eventually the alarm goes off because Superboy is looking at an old photo of the Titans and he sees himself in it. Gets a little emo about it, and
He's getting a little sentimental.
yeah, and shit hits the fan, and then we finally come up to date with what happened last issue, where the Suicide Squad finally gets in contact with Alinta, and they're like, "Okay, if you resist, we're gonna kill you, because Amanda Waller's our boss. So you're gonna have to follow us." And she's like, "Motherfucker." And so there's a big fight with the students because the Titans had left to, like, I forget what they were doing. But the main Titans left. They're like, "Okay, kids, you're in charge." And they have this big fight. It's pretty cool, actually. I enjoyed it. And eventually, Amanda Waller tells them, like, you know what? Screw it. Just kill them all. And Red X is like, "Whoa, settle down there," because the owl from the Court of Owls is like, "Hell yeah, that's my bread and butter, baby."
The Talon is like, I am an assassin and I am ready to do this.
Yeah, and Red X kind of like helps the students. I don't know. All I know is he gets beat up by Peacekeeper, and I think, is it Alinta or Crush? One of them beats him up, punches him as well, and he's like, "Jesus Christ, I don't know who I should help." But he's definitely against the not killing. He's definitely like, "I do not want to kill children," and
Right.
they eventually say, "You know what? Fuck it." They beat her up, or beat him up, and or them. We don't really know the gender of Red X. And
He's referred to as he throughout the book.
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then eventually Warp shows up and teleports the Suicide Squad out of there, and yeah, the battle's over, and I don't know. Crush has this weird like emo moment where she wanted to kill the Talon and she doesn't, and she's like, "You know what? Fuck it, I quit." I don't know if that was just set up for her own series. Uh,
Yeah, if that seemed contrived or forced in any way, that's because it most likely was, because she has to go off and star in the Lobo and Crush series that's starting up, I think, next week or very soon.
yeah, I think it's actually this week.
Ah, yes. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, that was either planned out or they just kind of threw that in there. So
Yeah.
that happens, and then it's kind of just the end of the fight. Everybody's getting lunch. The Titans are back. They're talking to Alinta, trying to figure out what happened. They're trying to contact Crush, and some of them make a comment like Gorilla Greg and Stitch. They're like, "Oh well, maybe the world's greatest detectives will figure it out." And then the final page is like the Bat Kids doing undercover work in the hallway with one of the X's that he left back, like the X's that he throws. And they're like,
Yeah.
"Who is Red X?" So
And then you look at that final page and you're like, who the fuck are you? Bat Pack? What the hell?
yeah, I know Brat Girl. I think that's her, right? The main one in the middle.
I'm going to be fully honest with you, Joe. I don't know a single one of these goddamn characters.
Yeah, I think I know Brat Girl. That's the only one I recognized. And even then I was like, interesting. Don't know about this path or where this is going. But Joe, one thing I wanted to say real quickly is is Amanda Waller normally a villain? Isn't she supposed to be like kind of like half and half, cuz she seems like a full-on like dick. Like why is she, like I was really confused. Like I get that Alinta is supposed to be working for her, but this seems a little crazy.
Yeah, I don't. That I was feeling the same way. I literally have Waller willing to murder kids for Alinta, so I'm willing to bet there's more to the story that we don't know yet. Because Amanda Waller is supposed to be a gray character and not just someone who's flat out like, yeah, kill all these kids. I don't fucking care. Because like the kids are innocents. They haven't done anything wrong. They're just they're training to be like the next couple of superheroes. So it's like Waller doesn't want normally she wouldn't care to do anything like that. That would just go against any kind of morals that she had. So the fact that she's just like murder all these people for Alinta, I don't. That's either bad characterization of her or it's something else is going on, and I don't know what is what yet. So, but I'm hoping that there's something more going on, and it's not just weird writing.
Yeah, I don't know where this is going to go with the next issue, because I know in this issue X had talked about, like, like, Peacekeeper, you can fight back. Like, we just need to find, like, even though Amanda Waller put bombs in our neck, like, what if we grab the controller and, like, fight back? And he's, like, kind of, like, trying to convert him. I don't know. It was really weird. And, yeah, X is being this gray character as well. So everything last issue, kind of like the Suicide Squad surprise, I was like, oh cool, like this is going to be interesting. And I thought this issue would give more clarity, but it really hasn't given that much clarity besides Alita's backstory.
Yeah, no, because a lot of that, it seems, any context that you want is going to be found in the Suicide Squad series that's going on right now, because they link to that a couple of times. They just like, if you want to understand what's going on, read this, and I'm like, no. So I'll just figure it out on my own, or use the internet or something. That's all I'll do. But yeah, so kind of the art in the book still stellar. When the round table of all the Titans talking looks great. When Red X and the Suicide Squad are parachuting in and infiltrating the tower, looks incredible. But the story and writing, so like in this issue particularly, took a bit of a dip for me. So hoping it'll bring it back in issue 4.
I agree. Let's get into the last Batman Black and White for, I don't know, who knows when they'll do this again. I don't know if they have this on a schedule where it's like a yearly thing.
I don't think so, because I think the last time this happened was like 15 or 20 years ago.
Damn!
So, yeah, I don't think we're going to be getting another round of Batman Black and White for a little bit.
Well, Joe, let me now. This is the cover I wanted to ask you the most about. What cover did you get?
I went with the Fabric cover.
Yes, I knew I loved you. I did too. What the fuck is the standard cover? I have no clue what I'm looking at.
It's by isn't it by Jansen? It's inked by Klaus Jansen and drawn by someone else.
John Romita Jr. But even then,
John Romita Jr. Yeah.
I tried. I was looking at it online, and I was like, okay, maybe it's like it was one of those like for me, it seemed like an optical illusion where like I just couldn't see the image. And I was like, you know what? Maybe in person I'll see it. Even in person, when I held it, I had no fucking clue what I was looking at.
Yeah, John Romita Jr. and Klaus Jansen, they've done a couple of things. Whatchamacallit? John Romita Jr. has been an artist on Daredevil and Spider-Man, and I just read the Neil Gaiman Eternals book, or miniseries that came out, and the art was done by him. And Romita Jr. has a very distinctive style of art, so it's very much like you either like it or you don't like it. There's not really someone who's like, I'm fine with it. It's very much like, it's very heavily stylized.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily that I didn't like it. I just don't know what I was looking at. Like, I know you probably don't have it in front of you, but I tried to figure out what it actually was, and I do not know what it is. I'm
looking at it. I have it on my phone. It is, so what you're looking at, it's Batman poised on a gargoyle, but the actual Batman, you can only see his arm and his knee, and then in the skyscraper behind him, it's a reflection of him, and it's raining. So that's what it is. There's a lot of lines. There's not a lot of contrast. That's the biggest thing, where it's like everything is basically somewhere in like a mid gray range. So it doesn't utilize any like strong sense of black and white, unlike the Fabric cover, which is pretty much all strong senses of black and white to kind of give you those distinct images. So yeah, the Romita Jr. and the Klaus Jansen cover, I like it. I think it's fine. But I mean, Fabric is just one of the top artists at DC, especially when it comes to Batman. Like, he's the Three Jokers artist.
Yep.
That shit is immaculate.
I saw this cover and I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, that's a Three Jokers guy, isn't it? And then I opened it up
that's Jason Fabric.
And I recognized it and I was like, ha, I'm growing. I'm learning shit.
Yes, I can identify artists now. So good. But yeah, so
let's get into it.
Yeah. First story is titled The Second Signal. What did you think about this one?
I really, really liked it a lot.
Yeah. So this one, it's basically a couple of brothers in a different. I don't know if it's a different town or a different section of Gotham, but they build their own bat signal and they kind of signal out to Batman, and he shows up and they're just kind of like, hey, so something's going on and people are disappearing and we don't know what to do. We need your help. And Batman's like, all right, and he follows them along, and it turns out Mad Hatter is there, and he's kind of doing his thing, and he's controlling people to make what are they? Are they packaging something? They're making? I can't remember. What are they doing?
Let me check my notes, i.e., the actual comic.
I think it's kind of ambiguous.
They're like making like electrical things.
Okay,
Like
so it might be like I
like
don't know,
circuit
weapons or
breakers.
something.
I don't know. He was hiring slaves pretty much to make wood stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. But so Batman's just like, oh, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, Mad Hatter, and so first Mad Hatter sends all the goons after him, and he's just like, haha, and he takes off the controlling bands, and so the people are freed, and then he tracks down Mad Hatter and throws him into Arkham or whatever. And then the brothers are just sort of like, hey, if you need any Robins in this part of town, you got two people here, and he's like, I'll keep that in mind. And then he jumps in the Batmobile and drives away, and the brothers are like, yeah, that's a fucking cool whip right there, man. And that's how that one ends. And it's got some pretty cool stylized art. Like, it's very, it kind of reminds me of Jorge Jimenez a little bit. It's pretty angular with a lot of this stuff, kind of manga-esque. And so I was just like, this is pretty cool. So, Second Signal, solid thumbs up from me.
I agree. All right, the second one. I'm trying to look for the name. The Abyss.
Yes.
Okay, with this thing. So I think the story's good. I like it. I like the story. I'm 50-50 with the art. I really don't know how to feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got that as well. Where the story is basically it's Batman versus Man Bat, but from the perspective of like three different people who are relaying these nights of events to a psychiatrist, and you don't see the psychiatrist until the end, and so it's just their different perspectives on what happened, and it's revealed at the end that the psychiatrist that they're talking to is Dr. Hugo Strange, which I don't know if you know who that is, Joe, but in the Rogues Gallery of Batman, he's a villain. He's kind of an asshole. He tends to make a lot of not so good things, whether that's just screwing around with the mentality of other people and influencing them that way to do bad things, or creating actual monster men and then just letting them loose on the city. He does a whole bunch of stuff like that. But I was right there with you with the art as well. I just have written down meh art, so I was like, I guess I was right there in the middle where I was just kind of like, it's fine, it's whatever. But the Abyss, that's like the thumb is sideways. Like if you're at a gladiatory arena, it's like I haven't decided whether you're gonna live or die yet. It's a sideways thumb right now.
All right. Number 3, opening moves. My boy Nick Darrington from Doom Patrol's on this.
Hell yeah.
Cool story and cool art. I like it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with both those things. The art in this, I thought was really cool. Nick Darrington is just great. He writes and does the art. He does both those on this story, which is cool. And it's opening moves. It's just like it's a faction of people dressed as different chess pieces, and Batman's taking them out, doing different things, and being tactical that way. And it turns out the king and queen of like the white pieces are protecting a black piece prince. They're protecting, they're holding him captive, and so Batman steals him away, and then the other black pieces, like that army, kind of crash in, and they start fighting with the white pieces, and so it's like a legitimate battle going on, and Batman's just trying to get this kid out of harm's way, and the kid fucking stabs him in the gut, and he's just like, Batman drops him, he's like, you can be better than them, you don't have to continue this cycle, and the kid looks at him for a second, and he's like, nah, fuck that, and then he runs right back into the battle, and he's just a part of it, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was pretty weird. I like it though. I thought I liked describing the chess pieces and how like their abilities and how like actually physically manifesting them onto like a physical person. I thought that was pretty cool because I like chess, and I like Nick Darrington, so I was a little biased with this one, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah, it's nice. And there's a nice little mention of Queen's Gambit. Like, I think the Queen just doesn't move, and Batman in his mind is like Queen's Gambit, and I'm like, that might be reference to the show. I don't know, because I don't know if anyone knew what the fuck that term was until that show came out, and then everyone watched it because it was very good. All right, next one. Like Monsters of the Deep. What did you think of this one?
I think Clayface is pretty cool. Art, again, this is 50-50. I think Batman looks kind of funny. He looks like a mole man.
He kind of looks like when who did Earth One, not Earth One, Wonder Woman, Dead Earth, that gritty art that I'm trying to. I have it right here. Hang on. Daniel Warren Johnson. It kind of reminds me of the way he draws Batman, but not as
With the goggles.
It doesn't fit. Yeah, it doesn't quite fit with the way I'd like it. But yeah, the rest of the art style, I kind of called it like more gritty punk-esque kind of art styling. Yeah. And so some of it works really well. Like all this stuff with Clayface, I think looks pretty cool. Batman kind of looks like a bit of a derp, but I mean,
Like I said, mole man.
yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, I could take it because you only see Batman's face like 2 times maybe in the entire short story. But yeah, I'd give it like it's like the thumb is diagonal upwards. Like it's all right.
Yeah. This actual story of it wasn't that crazy.
Yeah, no.
Okay. And then this last one, which, what is it called?
1,000 words.
Okay. This one I really liked as well. I called this one the photo story. And
Yes.
yeah, this is fucking cool. This was really unique. And I kind of liked it too because I'm like, oh my goodness, he's the Peter Parker of Gotham.
Yeah, essentially. And so it just follows. I don't remember what the guy's name is, but it follows just like a guy who kind of, he ended up taking. He was a forensic photographer or something like that. And he takes a picture of Batman over like the bat signal. I think that first image is very cool, and if I could get that as like a tiny
sick.
poster or something, that'd be really awesome. It's very cool. This is also done by, I believe, Romita Jr. and Klaus Janson as well. So the guys who did the cover that you can't make heads or tails of did the art in this. And again, not the cover, but the rest of the, like that image in the story, great. It's awesome. And then the rest, it's just following the guy and kind of like his life exploits, or not so much exploits, but just kind of like what happened to him. And how he's like, yeah, I kind of just started taking pictures of Batman, and sometimes I would sell them to, most of the time I try and only sell them to people who I knew were like had strong moral standards and wouldn't use my images as slander. Then, bills started piling up and I had to make a living still. So it was like, I'd sell to the person who would kind of like pay the most. And it's like, I still have the originals. I know what they are. They can crop and do whatever the fuck they want with them. But it's like the purity, I got that.
Yeah. And I like the ending too of him kind of like falling off the rooftop and the camera going off and getting those weird angles and him just waking up in his bed and having the picture there, and he's like, yeah, I don't know how he got it from Bruce Wayne, but I'm pretty happy to have it back. And I was like, oh, that was a really cool connection. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, nice little tie together. It was very nice, and it was just a nice story of someone that's a part of the world of Gotham, but isn't like a Bat family member. And so it's always cool just getting a little glimpse of what it's like to be on the other end in that world. So, yeah, I think overall it was a pretty strong book. Second Signal and 1,000 Words
Best.
and Opening Moves, I'd say. Yeah, Second Signal and 1,000 Words were the best, followed by Opening Moves, and then I'd say like Monsters of the Deep and The Abyss were kind of tied for third place. So it's like you got 2 golds, you got 1 silver, and you got 2 bronze. And that's the way I tie this book. So, fairly strong book to end the series on.
Overall, what did you think about Batman Black and White?
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I think the idea of just looking at different vignettes of how different artists would do, how artists would do their own little takes on Batman, or like the world that Batman inhabits, it's really cool. And it's awesome just to get to see all the different art styles that are depicted throughout these books. Because like I was remembering back to the first book, which when I think back to the first book, I get a little bit sad because I'm like, some of the coolest and most experimental art was in the first issue. Like you had the stuff with all like the weird shadowy silhouette things, and then you had the Catwoman story where it was like everything was just shapes, and so like, it was like negative space to do some different stuff. Like some of the later books, it got more kind of samey, I
Standard.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it's still cool just to kind of like see all the different little ways, and even the whatchamacallit, even the choose your own adventure story, which I despise a lot, has incredible art, and it's at least trying something different, even though I didn't really like it. But you know, hey, that's just me.
I gotcha. I gotcha. I feel the same way. So, Joe, what do we
Yeah.
got this week? It's Memorial Day today. June is tomorrow. That's right, Joe. June.
June.
It's summertime, baby. What are you getting this week?
What am I getting this week? That is an excellent question. So Batman number 109, I know, is coming out next week. I believe Noctera, yes, Noctera number 4, and then the Swamp Thing number 4 is coming out next week. And those are it. I remember because I looked this up earlier, and I just had to look it up again because I was like, I don't remember what I'm picking up, but those are the things that I'm picking up. I'm also working my way through my absolute editions of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, the beautiful green Bibles that are just so fucking incredible. I love them so much. I don't know if I'll end up talking about any of that here because there's a lot in each. Like there's 16 issues in this one volume, and then I have volume 2 that's probably closer to like 17 or 18 issues as well. And so I'm just like, oh, these are incredible, and I'm just gonna take all the time I need to read these babies because they're really cool. But so I'm on a massive Swamp Thing kick right now. So I'm just excited to read all the Swamp Thing shit.
That's awesome. Yeah, you got a lot of good stuff, and I have nothing. That's right. Zip, zero, zero, nothing. So it's gonna be a lot of me listening to you talk next week.
I'll figure out a way to incorporate you into the conversation more. I'll be like, okay, Joe, and then what happened? And then you'll have to say what happened next in the story.
Sounds wonderful.
Yes. All right. So, with all that being said, everyone, please make sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, you know, all that usual YouTube shiznit, all the normal shit we do. Make sure to tune in next week for those 3 books that we talked about before, and to see Joe maybe have to think on his feet a little bit about those stories. And yeah, with that, we shall say to all of you, we love you and goodbye.